A new report claims that FBI Director Kash Patel is about to blow the gates wide open on the January 6th Fedsurrection. Yes, the Fedsurrection. Multiple news outlets are reporting that Patel has been dogged in getting information to Congress about the event, specifically about the pipe bomber, which, you know, is the key to unraveling the entire plot to entrap Trump supporters on January 6th. We are going to break that down today. I hope this is true, and I hope it comes soon. This is going to be one of the biggest exposures of the deep state weaponizing government against us that we have ever seen. In fact, I can't think off the top of my head of a single event of the deep state being exposed that we've ever experienced that would be bigger than this. Okay, Kash Patel, according to a new report by Revolver News, is about to blow the lid off the January 6th pipe bomber conspiracy. We've been following this story pretty close, you and I, since the very beginning, because you understand, and I understand, that the key to unlocking exactly what happened on January 6th lies in understanding why the FBI stopped their investigation into a man wearing a black hoodie who, in the evening of January 5th, allegedly placed an allegedly explosive device outside of two locations in Washington, D.C., outside of the Democrat National Committee, the DNC, and outside, well, it wasn't really the RNC, but outside of the Capitol Hill Club, where a lot of Republicans are known to congregate and network. And we've known for a long time that this shouldn't have been a case that caused the FBI that much consternation to solve. We have videotape of this man. We have tracking data from his phone, the geolocation data where every time you move, a GPS signal bounces between your phone and a satellite. And this data is publicly available. Advertisers, for example, can buy this information about your movement, about your location, and they can use it to create a profile of you so that they can target their ads to you better. Think about the ads that you get on your Instagram feed, for example. How do these advertisers know who you are and what you're interested in? Well, part of it's because they purchase this geo-tracking data and then they send that ad to your phone based on the data. The government also has access to this data, and the government, the FBI specifically, tracked the phones of anyone nearby the DNC and the RNC who possibly could have had the same footprint pattern based on this geo-tracking location from the phone as this person who allegedly planted an allegedly explosive device. And they narrowed down the suspects to 186 people. Well, 186 people, this should be a piece of cake for the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, these gumshoes. This should be an easy case to crack. Well, they did crack it. They narrowed down those 186 possible phone numbers to just one phone number. So we got him. We know who the January 6th pipe bomber is. But then suddenly, after they'd narrowed it down to just one person, the FBI stopped. The FBI ceased their investigation. The FBI closed the book on the January 6th pipe bomber investigation right before they got their guy. Why is that? Why did they do that? I think you know the answer to why they did that. I think I know the answer to why they did that. The FBI is at the very least covering up information that someone in the federal government doesn't want you to know. Now, whether it's the FBI that committed the wrongdoing, whether this was a completely staged event, whether the ATF was involved, whether Nancy Pelosi was in knowledge of this, we don't know those details yet, but Kash Patel does. The FBI director does. The new FBI director under President Trump has access to all the dirt on what happened on January 6th. And as soon as we know who exactly was involved in the staging of the pipe bomb, which, by the way, you'll remember we were told was the most dangerous potential act of domestic terror that was thwarted by law enforcement in DC that we have ever seen in our lifetime. Well, you'd think we'd be awfully interested in knowing exactly who committed that crime and not leaving it, what are we, four odd years later? We still don't know the name of this person? Well, who exactly was involved in this cover-up? Who was involved in this staging? You unlock that, and then you understand exactly who was involved in entrapping Trump supporters in and around the Capitol on January 6th, which led to the FBI raiding the homes of otherwise peaceful protesters who wandered into open doors and were guided around the Capitol by the Capitol police officers themselves, grandmas thrown in jail, people's lives ruined, misdemeanor charges being bulked up with terrorism enhancements to the point where at least one man, Matthew Perna, committed suicide because he could not face the penalty, the prison penalty he was going to face for something that he did not do. So if this new report is true, and I hope it is, and I think it is, because Kash Patel went into the FBI promising to root out the deep state, and this is it. This is the deep state. Stephen D'Antuono is the name of the FBI agent who was in charge of the DC field office. He was in charge of all the FBI operations in and around the Capitol in and around January 6th, and he was caught lying to the United States Congress when Congress investigated this. Stephen D'Antuono said, well, the reason that the FBI couldn't track who exactly or identify who exactly placed these allegedly explosive devices outside of the DNC and next door to the RNC is because when we, the FBI, Stephen D'Antuono claimed, requested the phone data to use the geo-tracking data to identify the person, when we contacted the telecom companies, meaning your cell phone carrier, and asked them for that information, the data was corrupted. We simply weren't able to bridge that gap. We needed that information to identify our man, and we didn't get it because the telecom company said the data was corrupted. This is what Stephen D'Antuono testified in front of Congress, and yet the major telecom company involved, the one who was facing this, what turned out to be false accusations, said, no, that's not true. We didn't have any data that was corrupted, and the FBI never requested that data from us and never told us that any data we did give them was corrupted. There's a massive cover-up that happened, my friends, a massive cover-up that would unlock the mystery of exactly who was behind staging the Fedsurrection, because we're long past the point where even those in the center and many on the left believe that what happened on January 6th was simply an organic grassroots protest that turned into some kind of violent protest. We are long past that point in public opinion. The majority of the American people understand that there were undercover feds that were fomenting violence on January 6th. The question is not whether that happened. The question is who was behind it. And then who helped cover the tracks. And Kash Patel is in a unique position to blow the lid off of this conspiracy. And according to reports, it's about to happen. And I pray that these reports are accurate. I pray that these reports are accurate. Julie Kelly, as you know, has been dogged in this fight. She was one of the first to report this, and she is incredibly credible. She claims that the deep state, those bureaucrats who hate Trump, are in a panic over Kash Patel. And my response to that would be, well, I would be too if I were them. That's exactly how they should be reacting, because they are caught. They are panicked in a corner with Kash Patel facing down on them. Julie Kelly says they're pretending that they're still looking for this individual. It's all part of the cover-up. A head fake before January 6th. They're extremely nervous about FBI Director Kash Patel. Fox News also reported that FBI Director Kash Patel is working aggressively to comply ahead of schedule with congressional document requests in an effort to follow through on his commitment for the Bureau to provide transparency to the American people. A couple months ago, you'll remember we interviewed the founder of Revolver News, Darren Beatty, who is now at the State Department. We interviewed him about specifically not just January 6th, although he has been one of the best reporting from the very beginning on January 6th, but even more specifically, we asked him about the January 6th pipe bomber and what information the government has covered up and how they've staged that cover up. If you haven't watched that episode, highly recommend going back. You can search January 6th pipe bomber on any platform, YouTube or X or Apple or Spotify or BlazeTV, and you'll be able to find that. And as Revolver News puts it in their reporting, all points toward a government cover-up involving not just the FBI, but the ATF, the Secret Service, Capitol Police, and even Kamala Harris herself. The evidence is so damning that we have long referred to the January 6th pipe bombs as one of the two smoking guns of the Fedsurrection. The other smoking gun being Ray Epps. Revolver notes just recently, no less than Elon Musk, a confirmed reader of Revolver News, expressed his view that the pipe bomb story is a hoax and that the identity of the bomber could very well be a secret government employee. All right, And you guys, I can see you're blowing up the live chat. In the live chat, Ann Anonymous says, I don't care unless someone is actually held accountable. I'm sick of the investigations with no action. Amen to that, Ann. I am confident that Kash Patel will not simply stage what we have long criticized Republicans in the House of Representatives for doing, staging these kind of show trials where they want to get their sound bites so that they can go viral on social media, and then it leads to nothing. It leads to no charges, it leads to no accountability, it leads to no prison sentence, it leads to nothing except a fundraising campaign for congressional Republicans. Let me tell you, Kash Patel is different. Kash Patel will follow through on what he has promised to do. Kash Patel will blow the whistle, blow the roof off, not just the January 6th Fedsurrection, but the key to it all, which is, of course, the pipe bomber. I am confident in that.